The last thing Commander Jalen Rowe saw before death claimed him was a pair of glowing violet eyes and a whisper in his mind. I won't let you die. Not like this. The war for the edge of the Orion Belt had left most of humanity in ruins. Earth's unified defense corps, now barely a skeleton fleet, was cornered at Virlax Station, an asteroid-based fortress orbiting the dying star Calum Prime. Jalen Rowe, a decorated human commander, had fought a dozen planetary battles, survived chemical weapons, psionic attacks, and even a wormhole collapse. But nothing prepared him for the Kanari ambush. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and betrayed. Plasma scorched across the station, and the screams of dying soldiers filled the halls like a requiem for mankind. Bleeding from a thorax wound, Jalen stumbled behind a shattered containment pod, gripping his pulse rifle in one hand and his side in the other. His heartbeat slowed. Pain dimmed into numbness. Darkness swam in. Then, she appeared. 8 feet tall, pale-skinned like moonlight, armored in sleek black biometal that shimmered with pulsing red veins. Her name was Valeria, a half-vampiric alien from the lost world of Vennael, a planet consumed by its sun a century ago. Valeria wasn't supposed to be there. She was a secret, a myth, the silent assassin assigned by the High Council to assist Earth's final commanders when diplomacy failed and annihilation followed. But for Jalen, she was more than a myth. She was his last friend. And maybe more. Kneeling beside him, her eyes burned into his soul. "You're dying," she said, her voice like velvet soaked in sorrow. Jalen smirked weakly. "Not the first time. But this will be the last. Unless—" She paused. Her clawed gauntlet trembled. Then, with a motion quicker than thought, she tore open the seal of her armor and exposed a patch of translucent skin over her ribcage. A soft, glowing vein pulsed beneath it. Without hesitation, she bit her own wrist and let thick, silver-blue blood run from her arm to his lips. "No," he groaned. "You'll be exiled for this." "I don't care." He drank pain, fire, memories not his own, galaxies collapsing, stars screaming, her life, her exile, her loneliness, her secret love for a stubborn human soldier who never asked for anything except to die on his feet. And then silence, then heartbeat, then power. Jalen woke not in pain, but in absolute clarity. The world around him felt slowed, like time obeyed him now. Every crackle of plasma, every breath of dust, every blink of light. He sensed it all. His veins thrummed with a power both ancient and alien, and his body had changed. He rose from the scorched floor, armor blackened and shattered, but his skin flawless beneath it. His wound gone. Muscles surged with new strength. Reflexes sharpened to supernatural precision. His eyes flickered, violet for a moment. Valeria watched him rise in stunned silence. Her breathing was erratic, and something more than blood loss haunted her expression. "You shouldn't be able to stand," she whispered. "I don't feel like standing," he replied grimly. "I feel like killing every last one of them." The station rocked as another barrage of Kanari missiles struck its outer hull. They had little time. He looked down at her. "You saved me." "Why?" Valeria's lips parted, but the words caught. "Because I couldn't lose you." Jalen's voice softened. "Valeria!" Before either could say more, a trio of Kanari shock troopers breached the blast doors. They were grotesque, insectoid creatures with elongated arms ending in serrated blades. They surged forward. Jalen was faster. He moved with terrifying speed. In the blink of an eye, he closed the gap, tore one enemy's skull from its spine, drove a plasma blade into the chest of another, and hurled the last against the wall so hard the wall buckled. Valeria stared, not in fear, but awe. "You're adapting too fast," she muttered. "Even a pure-blood Vennael wouldn't metabolize my essence that quickly." Guess I'm not entirely human anymore. No, she said quietly. You're something new. They fled through the collapsing station corridors, side by side. Jalen's enhanced senses guided them around collapsing bulkheads and enemy patrols. He was a weapon now, more than a soldier, less than a god. But inside, the man he used to be still burned, still loved. Outside, Earth's orbital fleet sent its final signal, a scorched Earth protocol. Viralax station would be vaporized in 6 minutes. I have a ship hidden in the subdeck, Valeria said. Class A stealth pod, cloaked in the maintenance shaft. We can make it if we move now. But as they turned a corner, they found a sight that made Valeria stop in her tracks. Children. Human children, survivors from the refugee quarter. Huddled in fear. A few nurses barely standing guard, armed with broken tools. They'd be incinerated. In the blast, Jalen looked to Valeria. She looked back. I'll lead them to the pod, she said, stepping forward. You go to the control core. Override the failsafe. Delay the detonation. You'll never make it without me. I'll survive. You're still bleeding, he said. So are you. Inside. For a second, the battlefield faded, and all he saw was her. Beautiful, fierce, compassionate, alone for centuries, and yet willing to risk everything for strangers. He leaned in. Their foreheads touched. I'm coming back, he whispered. You better. And just like that, he ran. Toward fire. The heart of Viralax station pulsed like a dying beast. Jalen sprinted through the reactor corridor, violet lights flashing under emergency lockdown. Alarms wailed. The voice of the station AI looped a countdown. 5 minutes until core detonation. He didn't breathe hard, didn't feel tired. In fact, the harder he pushed, the stronger he felt. His blood sang. The vampire essence within him wasn't just healing, it was amplifying. His eyes glowed like starlight as he reached the control nexus. Khanari guards were stationed at the terminal, 6 of them, surrounding the override panel. A direct assault would have meant death for any normal soldier. But Jalen Rowe was no longer normal. With a savage roar, he launched himself forward. Time stretched. Bullets and plasma bolts flew in slow arcs. Jalen danced between them, a phantom of death. He tore through enemies like a scythe through grass. Bone cracked, screams echoed, metal sparked. He reached the terminal, slammed his bloody hand onto the biometric override and growled through clenched teeth. Authorization. Commander Jalen Rowe. Delay detonation. Code. Savior Protocol Alpha 19. The station AI responded in a neutral tone. Confirmed. Detonation sequence paused. Manual control granted for 30 minutes. He dropped to one knee for a brief moment. The surge of adrenaline faded, and he felt the cost. His transformation was complete, but it wasn't free. Something inside him had shifted. His heartbeat was no longer human. His pupils, when reflected in the terminal screen, were slitted. Valeria had warned him. The more of her blood that flowed in him, the more of her he would become. Meanwhile, Valeria led the terrified group of children and survivors through smoldering debris, her pulse rifle clutched tightly. Every few steps, she would stop, sniff the air, and listen, not with her ears, but with instinct. Then she felt it, a psionic wave, faint, but laced with unmistakable malice. Karzul, the Khanari warlord. She had fought him once before, barely survived. His mind could crush thoughts, twist fear into madness. Now she could feel his presence approaching. She ushered the children into the stealth pod. Stay silent. Do not open the hatch unless I return. One young boy tugged her armored leg. Will you come back? She knelt and gently brushed his hair back. I always keep my promises. The door hissed shut. She turned, lifting her blade. Red biolight crawled across her skin as she summoned the latent vampiric energy sleeping in her blood. And then he appeared. Karjul towered nearly 10 feet, plated in obsidian armor streaked with glowing green veins. His mind lashed out, like a whip, and Valeria staggered back. Visions of death, hunger, and ancient pain clawed at her sanity. "You gave the gift to the human," he hissed telepathically. "You broke the sacred oath." "He's more worthy than any of your kind," she replied, baring her fangs. "He will lose himself, just like you did." Valeria screamed and leapt. They clashed. Vampire against psychic warlord. Blades struck. Minds collided. The air boiled around them. Jalen felt her pain ripple through the blood bond. He screamed. Clawed hands gripped the edge of the terminal. Sparks flew from his back as energy flared through his veins. His love was under attack, and he could feel every broken bone, every tear in her flesh. He ran, through fire, through smoke, through the broken remnants of the station, until he found them. Valeria stood over Karjul's broken body, barely standing herself. Blood poured from her side. Her blade was gone, her strength fading. Jalen didn't stop. He grabbed the Karnari by the throat and lifted him like a doll. "You want a monster?" he growled. "I'll show you one." He sank his hand into the warlord's chest and crushed his heart. Karjul's body spasmed and then crumbled into ash. Jalen dropped to his knees beside Valeria. "Stay with me," he whispered. She smiled faintly. "You came back. I told you I would." They held each other as the station's core rumbled again. But this time, it wasn't the end. It was the beginning. Virelac Station drifted in silence. Jalen and Valeria stood atop the outer shell of the stealth pod as it slipped silently through the wreckage-strewn debris field. Behind them, the shattered asteroid fortress glowed faintly, its detonation, core disabled for now. But inside Jalen, something else was detonating. He gripped the edge of the pod as his body shook violently. His muscles twitched, his breath came in ragged bursts, and his vision blurred, flashing between crimson and violet. What's happening to me?" he groaned, collapsing to one knee. Valeria turned to him, her own wounds partially healed. Her eyes filled with dread. "It's the second stage." "Second stage? You were dying when I gave you my blood," she said. "So your body accepted the full bond, faster than it should. Too fast. That's why you're strong, but also unstable." Jalen clutched his chest. "Feels like I'm starving. Burning from the inside." "You are," she whispered. "You need more. Not blood. Me. My energy. My essence. If you don't get it soon, your body will consume itself." He looked up at her, his face torn between agony and longing. "Then give it to me." Valeria hesitated. "If I do, there's no turning back. You'll be fully bound to me, not just in body, in soul. You'll become what I am, and more. I'm already not who I was, and I'm not afraid. But what if I am?" she said, voice trembling. "What if I lose you in the process? What if all that's left is hunger?" He reached for her hand, his palm still steaming from the power pulsing under his skin. "Then bind me before I become a weapon with no heart, and I'll..." Stared into his eyes, searching for the man she knew, and she found him. Even buried beneath all the rage, all the alien fury, his soul was still Jalen. They kissed, not with desperation, but with trust. Her fangs extended. She bit her own lip, just enough to draw a drop of silver-blue blood. She let it fall onto his tongue, and as it touched him, he gasped. Flashes of memory poured through him. Her youth on Ven Nail. Her first love. The burning of her homeworld. Her exile. Her loneliness across the stars. Her longing. Her fear that no one would ever understand her. And her first moment of peace, watching Jalen argue with a war council, refusing to leave behind innocent colonists. "You were the first light in 1,000 years of darkness," the memory whispered. Jalen's eyes widened and glowed fully violet. Beam of power erupted from his chest and arced into the sky, splitting the clouds like lightning. His skin shimmered with ancient glyphs. His heartbeat merged with hers, synchronized. He was no longer just Jalen Rowe. He was Jalen Ven Roll, a new breed of being, a human-vampire hybrid, half soldier, half celestial predator, and deeply, irreversibly, in love. The stealth pod docked at the ruins of Earth's moon command. What remained of the human fleet huddled there, trying to regroup. When Jalen and Valeria stepped out, silence fell. The humans saw a changed man, radiating power, eyes aglow. Unscarred armor fused to his skin like living metal, and at his side, a legendary creature of myth, now very real. But General Kai, the highest-ranking officer alive, didn't hesitate. "Commander Rowe, you're alive," Jalen nodded. "More than alive, and I have a plan." "Sir," the lieutenant interrupted, "the Kanari fleet is massing again. 12 dreadnoughts moving toward Earth's orbit." "We can't stop them." "We can," Jalen said. "But not as we are." He looked to Valeria. "We give them fear, we give them war, but not on their terms. On ours." Valeria nodded. "We strike their mind ship, the psionic queen that controls their hive. Destroy her, and their fleet collapses. But we need someone who can reach her. She hides in subreality. A realm between dimensions," she added. Kai's eyes narrowed. "No human ship can—" "He can," Valeria said, placing her hand on Jalen's chest. "He's not just human anymore." Jalen turned to the surviving fleet, voice like thunder. "I'll go alone. You hold them off. Give me 5 minutes, and I'll rip the heart out of their empire." The psionic rift was nothing like space. Jalen hovered inside the breach, his physical form flickering between matter and energy. Around him twisted a kaleidoscope of memories, screams, and colors no human eye was meant to see. The Kanari, psionic queen, cloaked in a cocoon of star matter and mind fire, hovered at the center of it all. She was immense, part organic, part machine, her tendrils latching into dimensional threads like a spiderweb spun across galaxies. She turned toward Jalen, and though she had no mouth, he heard her in his soul. "You are the traitor's vessel. The broken beast, the failed soldier." Jalen said nothing. Instead, he closed his eyes and let Valeria's blood speak through him. Visions surged forward. Valeria as a child. Her parents turned to ash. The queen's cruelty reaching across eons, enslaving species, feeding on terror. Jalen's memories joined hers. The trenches, the losses, the burning of Earth colonies, the dying breath of comrades. He swore to protect, and then her. The moment she offered her blood to him, not as a curse but as a gift, a choice, a bond. He opened his glowing violet eyes. "I'm not your weapon," he said. "I'm her answer." And he charged. The battle inside the rift wasn't fought with bullets or blades, but with will. Each of the queen's psionic lashes shattered thought, stripped emotion, flayed his mind. Jalen howled as memories crumbled, but held on to one thing. Valeria, her smile, her defiance, the way she looked at him like he was still human, even when he wasn't. The queen pierced him with a tendril of thought. "You cannot kill me. You are alone." But then, a voice, warm, fierce, hers, whispered inside his mind. "You're never alone, my love." From the edge of thought space, Valeria's essence surged forward, her presence a beam of starlight cutting through the void. Jalen drew her strength into his being. For one perfect moment, they merged. Two souls beating as one. Love given form. Bonded in war, bound in fire. He drove his fist, now wrapped in ethereal flame, into the queen's core. Everything exploded. Back in normal space, the Kanari fleet began falling apart. Ships veered wildly, Systems failed. Pilots screamed as they lost mental connection. The Queen's grip had broken. Earth's scattered defense fleet moved in. Ion cannons tore through dreadnoughts. Valeria, now fully armored in her battle form, led strike teams through collapsing warships. And then, a tear opened in space. Jalen emerged, floating, glowing, barely breathing. Valeria caught him before. He fell. His body was battered, skin scorched, but his eyes opened, still filled with light. "You came," he whispered. She smiled through tears. "I told you. Always." Epilogue. Years later, the war ended with that battle. The Qunari scattered, without their queen. Peace slowly returned to the galaxy, but not without scars. Jalen and Valeria became legends, not just for their strength, but for their love. Their bond proved that even the darkest curse could be a blessing. If shared, they never aged, never weakened. Together, they wandered across stars, healing what war had broken. On a quiet moon, beneath twin suns, they built a sanctuary for orphaned children of war. And when asked if they were gods, Jalen would always laugh and say, "No, we're just two souls who found each other in hell and decided to make heaven." If you loved vampire alien woman, she gave her blood to a human soldier friend facing death, making him immortal. Share this story with other sci-fi and romance fans. Whether you're here for love, that defies species, or battles that bend space and time, drop your thoughts below and tell us, would you accept immortality if it meant bonding with someone but forever?